Let's be honest, the whole debate around AI and art it's messy. You hear these really loaded words getting thrown around, words like theft and soulless. In this explainer, we're going to try to cut through all that noise, break down the big myths, and maybe find a clearer, more responsible way to think about this whole thing. To really get a handle on this, I think we need to start with one core idea. At its heart, art is really just storytelling. That's it. And once we start seeing art less as some kind of mystical, magical act and more as a way people communicate, well, the role of a new tool like AI starts to make a whole lot more sense. I mean, think about it, right? What is an artist or a creator? It's just someone with a point of view who's using a tool to get that vision out of their head and into the world. Sometimes that tool is a paintbrush or a camera or a guitar. And now it can be an AI model. It's just the next chapter in a really, really long story of humans using tools to tell their own story. Okay, so let's tackle the elephant in the room. The biggest, most emotional accusation out there, the one that really gets people fired up, is this one. The idea that AI steals. You've seen it everywhere, right? It's simple, it's powerful, and it feels true to a lot of people. But just branding this incredibly complex technology with a single word like theft kind of hides what's actually going on under the hood. So here's the deal. That one word, theft, it's actually bundling together three totally different ideas. And to really understand what's happening, we have to pull them apart. First, we got to look at how these models actually learn. Second, there's the very real risk of them accidentally memorizing stuff. And third, what does the law actually have to say about any of this? So, how do these things learn? Well, it's not like the AI has a giant scrapbook of every image on the internet that it just cuts and pastes from. It's much more like a human art student. A student doesn't memorize every single painting they see. No, they study thousands of them to learn the patterns, like the vibe of Impressionism or the rules of perspective. AI models are kind of doing the same thing, but with math. They're learning statistical relationships, not just hoarding a library of images to copy. And of course, the legal system is scrambling to keep up. Right now, in the US, it all comes down to human involvement. If you, the artist, use AI as a tool, kind of like a superpowered version of Photoshop, and there's enough of your own creativity in there, you can likely copyright the result. But if you just push a button and the AI spits something out with no real creative input from you, that generally can't be copyrighted. The huge unresolved question, the one being battled out in court right now, is whether using copyrighted material to train the AI in the first place is legal. And that's a big one. All right, so we've covered the legal stuff. Let's shift gears and get a little more philosophical. This brings us to the second huge argument you always hear, the idea that AI art is just soulless. And look, it's a fair question. If there's no human struggle, no hand guiding the brush, no emotion poured into the work, can it really mean anything? Can it have a soul? It's a deep question, for sure, but it might not be a new one. What's really fascinating is when you look back through art history, you realize we've had this exact same panic before, over and over again. Back in the 1840s, painters said photography wasn't real art because a machine did the work. Then in the 90s, artists freaked out that Photoshop would kill painting. Every time a disruptive new tool comes along, the first reaction is always, well, that's it. Art is officially dead. And that leads us right into our third myth, which is all about AI's creative limits. And this one is actually kind of funny because the critics are coming from two totally opposite directions. You've got one group saying AI isn't creative at all, it just copies. And you've got another group that's afraid its creativity is so infinite, it's dangerous. So which is it? Well, as always, it's a bit more complicated. To really get this, we might have to update our definition of creativity itself. The old school view sees it as this mysterious lightning bolt of inspiration that comes from nowhere. But a more modern way to look at it is that creativity is a process. It's about remixing, combining, and transforming existing ideas in a new, purposeful way. And if that's what creativity is, well, that's a process AI is perfectly built to help with. But let's be clear, AI is not magic. It has very real technical problems. One of the biggest is this thing called model collapse. Basically, if an AI starts training on too much AI-generated art, if it starts eating its own cooking, so to speak, the quality can fall off a cliff. The whole system starts to degrade. But see, that's an engineering problem for people to solve, not some kind of moral failure of the technology itself. So if the myths are a little shaky and just boycotting the whole thing doesn't make much sense, what's the path forward? The argument here is that what we really need isn't a war against the tool, but a brand new discipline for the creators who are going to use it. And this new discipline is really built on three big ideas. First, always keep a human in the loop. That means a person is guiding the process, making the creative calls, and is ultimately responsible for the outcome. Second, we've got to keep refining copyright law so that it protects real human creativity. And third, we need to get serious about data provenance, which is just a fancy way of saying we need tools to trace where the AI's training data actually came from. That's key for building ethical systems.
This all leads to a pretty powerful conclusion, and I think this quote just nails it. The tool itself, the AI, it doesn't have humanity. It can't take it away. What it does is act like a giant mirror. It just amplifies the skill, the vision, the creativity, or, the mediocrity of the person who's using it.
At the end of the day, it's just like a camera. Give one person a camera. They'll take a boring passport photo. Give another person the exact same camera, and they'll create a photo that defines a generation. The technology is the same. The difference is, and always has been, the person behind the lens. So, what's the takeaway here? AI isn't replacing human creativity. It's challenging it. It's making the easy stuff even easier, which means the bar for what we consider truly special, truly creative, truly human is getting higher. So the final question isn't about the machine. It's about us. For every creator out there, the question is now, what is your human part? What do you bring to the table that a machine never could?